I selected Bobby Womack because it kind of took me back to when I used to go out into the clubs and party a little bit. And they used to play a lot of Bobby Womacks back in the day. And just had a good time. Now, Michael Jackson's Bad, I remember sitting with my children and listening to Michael. And Sterling and them had bought the album, and we all would sit around and listen to it. And that particular song, that was my favorite on that album. Well, I'm Emma Crawford. I'm a mother of 3. I'm a grandmother, I'm a great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother. I'm from Winston. Well, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I came to Winston, let's see, my mother brought me to Winston when I was about 5. Yeah. I only have memories of when I was a teenager going back to visit just before schools would start. Because we would go, my mother and father were separated, and we would go and visit my father every summer in Philadelphia and get our school clothes and stuff, and then stay for about a month with him and then come back. So I've got memories of Philadelphia there. Well, there was a Chronicle paper out, and in this cartoon character, it was a little boy and a little girl, and the little boy was named Butchie. The little girl was named Cookie. And so my mother named me and my brother, named me Cookie and named my brother Butchie from the cartoon characters. My early memories are growing up in Happy Hill Garden. Had plenty of friends. We would get together and go pick blackberries. We'd get together, go pick apples. A lot of times we would go pick apples in somebody's yard where we wasn't supposed to be. And I can remember one incident where my brother, my older brother, he said, I know where this apple tree is. And we say, where? And he told us where the apple tree was. He said, come, I'll take you to the apple tree. So he took us to the apple tree, and it was in the backyard of this man's house. And so I remember apples was all down on the ground. We was picking up apples, putting them in our bag and in our pockets and everything. And my brother had climbed the tree. And so we had as many apples as we could get and everything. And we turned around and looked, and we heard this voice say, get out of there. And it was this man standing in the back door, and he had a shotgun. And we dropped the apples and we started running, and we forgot that my brother had climbed the tree, so he had to get down. But later on, we found out after the man, because he did come to our house and talk to our parents. And he told Mother that he didn't have anything in his gun. He just kind of wanted to scare us so that we would never come back in his yard picking apples again. But that was something I won't ever forget, because that was a scary situation. Well, it was a lot of fun being a teenager in the 60s. Had lots of friends. went to lots of football games and, you know, hung out with my girlfriends and would go. I was at Anderson High School and they had little dances, you know, on like Friday nights at Anderson High School, and I would go to the dances, me and my girlfriends. I think on this picture is when I met my husband, Gino. Yeah, I met him when I was around close to, well, I was 16 going on 17 when I met him. So this is about the time that I met him, and we started dating. Yeah, but I just had a, you know, wonderful, wonderful teenage years. I know I wasn't in Happy Hill Garden. I don't think I was. I may have been. I'm leaning on somebody's car, and I'm not sure whose car it is. But maybe it was in Happy Hill, because it looks like I can see part of Happy Hill in the background. It's just that, you know, I was just hanging out with my girlfriends, having a good time. I did have a little baby brother, Vernon. And so a lot of times when I would go places, I would have to take him with me. Of course, he couldn't go to the little dances with me, but if I went to the fair, and that was something was really big back in that time. So if I went to the fair, I had to take him with me. Sometimes if I went to the movies, you know, I would take him to the movies with me. But I took care of him a lot too, because my mother worked and I had to babysit for her. We didn't do a whole lot of interacting with white people at that time because we lived in a community, it was all African American. We did have some problems, you know. We did have some problems during that time. I can recall a couple of incidents that we had. Remember one night we got together and we were all, some girlfriends of mine, we were in a car and we was on 52, we was headed to a club. And I think it was the club was in Tobacco'sville. And as we were going on 52, headed to Tobacco'sville, a car slid up beside us. And I remember it was all these white guys in this car. And they had hoods over their heads. And so that was a scary moment. And so the person that was driving the car that I was in, that we were in, he sped up and kind of lost them. And so that was a kind of scary moment. Another incident happened, and this was when I was a little bit younger. I got on the bus with my mother, and I remember the bus was crowded, and so there was nowhere to sit. And of course, at that time, you know, African Americans had to go to the back of the bus. So the bus was crowded, there was nowhere to sit. And me being only little girl, you know, one lady got up to get off the bus, so of course I saw an empty seat and I sit down. And when I sit down beside this white lady, she jumped up. And so, you know, later on my mother kind of explained to me, you know, what was going on then. But those were two of the things that really stood out for me back in the day. Well, it just made me, I couldn't understand why people was, why would the lady act like that, But my mother explained it to me,
What did she say?
She just explained to us that, things were separate. We had separate water fountains. We couldn't sit up front on the bus. And she just, she just said that those were the times that we were living in, and hopefully one day things would change. First time I fell in love. Well, I thought I was in love when I was about 13, because it was this little boy in the gardens that I thought I was in love with, but I know that wasn't love now. But I think real love was when I met my husband, Gino. Is when I really fell in love.
What was that like?
Oh, what was that like? Well, I had butterflies in my stomach. I wanted to see him every day. It was just a wonderful feeling, And he made me happy, and it was a great feeling. Parents always they never think you in love. They think you find love when you're older. But I think as we start dating, and the more my mother saw us together and saw, the happiness of us, she knew that I was in love, and she accepted it.
Did she accept it at first?
No.
Can you talk more about that?
She didn't at first because I was so young, and Gino was like about 4 years older than I was, and he had an already made family. He had 3 other children, and she just felt like I was too young to get involved with someone that had an already made family. Before I was a mom, I was just, I think I was a very, very nice girl, very obedient girl. I had lots of friends. I tried to do, the things that my mother wanted me to do. I was pretty good in school. I didn't have any problems. Well, motherhood changed me because I had responsibility, and I knew that responsibility came first before anything. Having a baby, you quickly learn that you got to put all that other stuff aside. Now your party days are kind of over. You're not over, but you can't do the things that you used to do because your child comes first. And it was great having a baby. I mean, there was this little person there that depended upon me and his daddy, for everything. And so it was great. Joined the military. We were newlyweds then, and I was still at home with my mom. He went to Fort Bragg. I think he would come home, well, not that often, but every chance he could get, you know, he'd come home, and it was bittersweet because he was gone, you know, and I didn't have him there to help take care of the baby. But like I said, I was with my mom, so she helped me a lot. And finally, he had to go to Panama, and he was gone for 6 months in Panama. And so that was a kind of a sad time because I was very lonely with him being away so long. After he got back from Panama, we moved and got our own place. And that's where we, you know, raised our son. And then I got pregnant a second time and had Chris. We were in Happy Hill Garden with my mom when he was away. But when he come back from Panama, we moved to Lakeside. And we stayed in Lakeside for about 1 year. And then after that, we got a place in Happy Hill Garden.
What was life like in Happy Hill Garden?
Life in Happy Hill Garden was great. I mean, it was just like a whole big family, just a whole group of people together. And everybody looked after everybody's children, and you know, we were just, because he was still in the service at that time, and I had babysitters, you know, that helped me out with the kids along with my mom, and it was great. And it was great just, you know, having my own place, you know, and taking care of my kids. Well, once he got out of the military, he had to find work. So he found a job. I think it was called Roadway Express, where he found a job. It was like a truck loading job, and he worked there for a while, and then he got a job working at the golf course. And that's how he got into playing golf. He was a caddy for some golfers. And he said he liked the game, and he played golf and he got into that. But I don't think that by then we had 2 children, and I don't think, you know, he felt like he was just making enough money to support his family. And that was, I guess, disheartening to him. You know, he just couldn't find. He tried to get in RJ Reynolds. He never did get there. He just couldn't find the kind of work that he wanted to do that paid the kind of money that he wanted.
So then what happened?
So by then, our daughter came along. So we had 3 kids then. Had 2 boys and a girl. And this is when he got into trouble with the law. When he got in trouble with the law, he had to end up going to prison, and that's when I had to start working.
And where did you start working?
I first started working at a cleaner's. I can't remember the name of the cleaner's, but it was a cleaner's, I think, on 25th Street. And I said, no, I don't think I want to do this, continue doing this. And so I had a friend that was working at Tallhammer's. And she said, well, I'll put in a word for you at Tallhammer's. and see if you can get on there. And so she did, and they called me, and I got a job at Tallhammers. I was there till retirement for about 30 years. Well, it changed over the years. It went from Tallhammers to Hex. Hex bought Tallhammers out, and then Macy's stepped in and bought Hex out, and so it's now Macy's. My first encounter with loss would be for my father. My father got cancer, and he passed away, and I think that was 82 when my father passed away. And that was very, very sad, you know. And then my mother passed away. She got sick also with cancer, and she passed away in '94. And then the third time was my son, Sterling, and he passed away recently in September of 22. That's just, it's devastating when you lose someone you love. You know, there's not a day go by that I don't think about all of them, you know. But Sterling is so recently, you know, and I just think about him every day and miss them all. So I like to do creative things. I like arts and crafts. I like painting. I like drawing, coloring. Yeah. If I could go back and make a career change.
Like, who did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a nurse.
Really?
I did. I really wanted to be a nurse. I believe that if I could go back, that would be one of the things I'd want to do, because I like helping people. And I believe I would be great at that. To serve God. I want to do for Him the things I should do. I want to help take care of my family. I want to help take care of people that I can help. I just want to be a servant, you know, to help others. I want to go to Las Vegas. I've always wanted to go to Las Vegas. Hadn't got there yet.
Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Just know that I am a sincere, I'm a loving person. I care about people. I'll do anything for people. And that's just me.
Do you have any regrets?
Regrets. You know what? I look back at my life and I say, well, if I hadn't gotten pregnant, I would probably have gone on and done this. But then I look back and I say, if that hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have had my children. So I don't have any regrets. I don't. I do wish that I could have maybe, I don't know if I could have talked my husband into a different type of life. I don't, you know, a mindset. I don't know what his mindset was, but I wish I could have made that marriage work and he could have stayed with his family, but that didn't happen. So I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for getting up this morning. I'm grateful for my family, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and I'm just grateful to be here. Wow, because this generation is growing up so fast and they're so smart. I just want this generation, I want them to stay in school. I want them to get all the education they can get, because that's going to take them a long, long way in life. And that education, you can't take that away. It's not about, you know, what they do in life, because whatever they choose to do in life, I want them to do a good job of it. Whatever kind of job they, you know, want to take, do a great job at whatever you do. I want them to come up and be honest citizens, give back to the community, help people, and their life will be great. Helped people, gave whatever she could, did whatever she could for people and her family. And that's it. My favorite season is fall.
Why?
Because the trees on the flowers and things change, and it is just so beautiful in fall. That's a beautiful season. Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder.
Why?
Because it's just like on a river floating like a flower in the sky. I've been to see the OJs, I've been to see the Temptations, I've been to see Lou Ross, but it's
Can you tell the James Brown story?
oh yeah, I've been to see James
Can
Brown.
you tell that story?
Yes, I went to see James Brown. I can't remember what year it was. My mother told me, say, well, if you want to go to see the concert, you'll have to take your little brother. So I said, well, I have to take my brother because I want to go see James Brown. And at the time, they were having it downtown at a warehouse. And
Downtown Winston?
yeah, here in Winston. And I took my little brother, and we had really great seats. We were like down front. And James Brown came out, got to dancing, and the next thing I know, my little brother jumped up out of his seat and run up on the stage and started dancing with James Brown. That's something I'll never forget. And James Brown, they let him dance. They let him dance.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to.
Uncle Vernon?
Yep, yep. Yeah, so that was a great moment there. If I was a flower, I think I would like to be a rose because I love roses. All colors of roses. Yep, it would be a rose. My favorite.